Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I am Bill Ranshaw. I am a certified porn and sex addiction recovery coach. I help men reach their full potential by stopping porn forever and guide them to retrain their brain for energy, clarity, and focus to have transformational breakthroughs to elevate every area of your life, from relationships to work to sexual attraction, wealth, abundance, and happiness. I appreciate all of you for being here, and I want to commend each and every one of you that has joined me here today. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of balls to even put in an email to register for the webinar, let alone to be here now. I'm beyond inspired and very excited. I'm guessing that you are watching this because you're here, because you're stuck in some way. And you're not sure what to do next. More than likely, you've tried everything from self-help books, motivational videos, and even real-life seminars and therapists, and you're still stuck. Today, we're going to talk about how you can break through all of it. I think everyone is here. I can see we do have people here from all over the world. Some are joining us. I know some of the people that are on here are joining us from about 4 a.m. their time from across the world. So thank you for being here. And I am ready to dive in. But first, let's make sure we set ourselves up for success in this class tonight, and we will get the most out of it for this time. So I want to ask you for a few things first. Please just free yourself of distractions. No TVs, pets, or radios. Turn off your cell phone unless you're watching this on your cell phone. The next thing I want is to make sure that you are just open-minded. You may hear things that do not make sense to you. Just keep an open mind about it as an option. Next, do not judge anything. I may say something that contradicts what you've heard or done in the past, and you may want to defend your way of thinking mentally as you're sitting there, at which point I say, see the previous statement, be open-minded. Next, be honest with yourself. In order to have a real breakthrough, you have to be honest with yourself, guys, and accept that there are things you're doing that are getting in your own way. I've talked to a few of you already. You've made great headway in this, but you have to be open to that and be honest with yourself. Next, be open to old ideas in new ways. You may have tried something in the past that did not work. Just consider that it could work if you evaluated and applied it from a different perspective. Next thing you want to do is see how stories relate to you. If I share a story or experience and it's not one you have had, try to see how it could relate to you and have meaning to your own life. Perhaps you were thinking to yourself, porn really is not a problem in my life. Consider if you've had bad relationships with gambling, gaming, eating, and so on. So I've turned off the video and chat to respect the privacy of all the participants. So write down the questions and give you an opportunity to email them to me at the end. If we've got time, I'll open it up to type in some questions, but we'll see how it goes. I'd rather answer them one-on-one via an email. So here we go. I am going to jump right in, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and they might just shoot right through to your heart. But I want you to answer honestly, as I said in the previous slide. Be honest with yourself and without judgment. When was the last time you watched porn? If it was less than a week ago, can you go more than a week without it? If you can go more than a week without it, can you go a month without it? If that sounds impossible to go a month without porn, it's time to heavily consider what harms porn is causing in your life. Now that we're being honest with ourselves, and this is probably going to feel like I'm speaking directly to you, but this is with a lot of folks. Now that you're being honest with yourselves, let's talk about why it's so hard to escape porn and why you relapse often. You might be on a streak right now, or possibly you've recently relapsed. Relapses can be devastating. Often they come back with a vengeance, and you find yourself just wasting hours behind a computer screen with multiple tabs open, and you're clicking between scenes and genres. And also, I do want to state right up front, no judgment here by me. I know sometimes the stuff that you look at sometimes seems to just get more twisted and deviant. That's just what happens. There's no judgment. That's how it works on the brain. So you could tell me there's something that you've watched that may freak a lot of people out. Nothing's going to freak me out if we ever have a conversation about it. So what happens? You just find yourself in a depression with no motivation. You just keep ending up into this cycle. So what's going on here? In a bit, I'll talk a little bit more about the chemical and brain science of the porn. But first, let's discuss how porn suppresses certain areas of your life. I'm pretty sure some of this will resonate with you. As men, we subconsciously learn that we have to be strong and suppress parts of our life. It's cliche, but yes, we have never been trained or taught how to really share feelings or emotions with confidence. Even nowadays, people are wanting us to, but have we really been trained to do that? Instead, we feel that we are like we're really pussies or we're weak if we share emotions. If we start feeling emotional and our feelings become strong, we will have the compulsion to watch porn, because once we orgasm from porn, our emotions and feelings subside and they become suppressed. Porn relieves us of the anxiety of emotions and feelings. Next, sharing and vulnerability. This is a big one. Vulnerability is a big key to all of this. Just like feelings and emotions, we gain anxiety about the fear of sharing our stories and being vulnerable with others because we fear rejection, we fear being hurt, we fear being judged as weak, and so on. You are not taught how to embrace and learn to use sharing and vulnerability as a tool for strength and empowerment. You have no idea how to do it, but internally your mind wants to do it on occasions. So again, anxiety and nervousness arise, and you might not even know why, but the compulsion to watch porn is going to hit you because it squashes that anxiety of being vulnerable. So what is the real problem that arises here? This creates a disconnect from people in general, because vulnerability is the deepest level that we can connect with someone, but we run from it. Here's how it might show up in your life. Perhaps you find yourself attracted to married women or women with boyfriends, or you're attracted to women that just don't like you back. Possibly it shows up when you tell yourself the only women that are attracted to me are none that I would ever like or want to be with. Porn creates this disconnect with people, and it trains your brain to be attracted to those things that you cannot have, because that's exactly what porn is. It's an attraction to something we are not connected to at all. This evolves to problems with our self-esteem and confidence. Then it builds as a cycle that you actually feel broken and you feel inadequate. Therefore, you dismiss people that like you because subconsciously you feel something must be wrong with them because they like you. And why would someone like me? I'm broken. I'm not good enough. I have low self-esteem. Then you become attracted to the ones you can't have because subconsciously you tell yourself that they must have it all and they must be perfect. And that's why we want them so bad. But if they got to know me, I know they wouldn't really like me. So does any of this sound familiar to anybody? So what happens? Maybe you commit to stopping porn. You've heard it helps in so many ways. You start NoFap or no PMO, basically, which are periods of no masturbation or porn. You stop for a while and you start feeling good, and you end up self-sabotaging again. You relapse. Why is that? Because you have not learned how to deal with all the underlying anxiety and feelings of emotions and the ability to share and be vulnerable. It crashes in on you and you relapse. At this point, shame begins to build, and it's just a massive vicious cycle that continues to repeat itself, and we can't seem to shake it. So how do we live with this? We begin to justify. And we'll justify that it's healthy, or we'll make up other excuses, and we continue to do it. But again, the shame will seep in. So I'm confident that some of this resonates with you, but if it doesn't, let's continue and do a check-in. Perhaps you're thinking, wow, that previous slide was really tough. It was a little deep, and I'm not that bad. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, I'm different. I just watch porn every couple of days. I have it under control. If this is you, you might be living inside what I call the porn storm. Pay attention to all the side effects popping up on the screen. They have all been linked to just casual porn watching. As they pop up, if you can relate to only a couple, maybe you're doing okay. If you relate to a quarter of them, then there's a strong chance porn has its hold on you. Now, if you're experiencing 50% or more of these, porn has sunk in its teeth and it's time to take a long, hard look. Me, personally, before I quit porn, I experienced all of the side effects except marriage on the rocks, only because I wasn't married. If I had been married, I'm pretty sure, or be pretty confident that my marriage would have been on the rocks and been pretty rocky. Also notice that the majority of these side effects are not sexually related. They are side effects that are expanding into every area of your life. At this point, hopefully your eyes are being opened up and maybe you're saying to yourself, oh shit, I had no idea porn could do all this to me. I mean, look at some of these. One of the big ones for me was job skipping. When I look at that happened. And nothing really excited me. Again, I never thought I was an addict, but when I look at this list, I really dove in, and every one of them really hit me. So if you're feeling a little uneasy about now, I'm going to kind of throw you a safety net. If you stop porn, you can begin to immediately transform your life in ways you've never considered. If you stop porn today, here's a list of possibilities that will start showing up in your life. When I was in the storm, I never imagined any of these being a possibility. None of them. I took years of personal development for me on all this. I took supplements. I read all the books. I even took acupuncture, you name it. I couldn't reach this stuff. I couldn't figure out what was wrong, but nothing was working. I ended up attributing that everything in the previous slide, the side effects in the previous slide were just genetics, and that stress, fatigue, depression, low self-esteem, and compulsion were just all part of my DNA. But when I stopped porn, I began to experience all these transformations on this screen. Again, notice the majorities do not pertain to sexual issues. Today, I can sit here and tell you I now live and experience every one of these possibilities. I look at the clarity, the focus, the passion, endless energy, re-engagement in hobbies, loving my job. Well, now I work for myself, but I love it. So what does transformation look like for you? If you quit porn forever, which one on this list would you love to experience? If your list is large, I can help you expedite your recovery from years to just a few weeks. I can help you move from just existing and living with your recovery to having a breakthrough and allowing you to rid yourself of porn forever, to having a transformation and living your most ultimate life. So, what makes me so qualified? To answer this, let's recap. Some of you probably heard my story, but maybe not all of it, so let's go through it pretty quick. This was me at the age that I started watching porn, somewhere around the age of 9 or 11. In most talks, you'll probably hear me say 11. My dad bought one of those giant satellite dishes that go in the backyard. And so at an early age, I had access to pretty hardcore and intense porn. I know what it did to me in my life, so it really scares me. It scares the living hell out of me, really. To know the intensity and frequency and the easy access that kids have of porn today, it's exponentially greater than what I have. And again, I know what it did to me in my life. I often say your kids are not finding porn. Porn is finding your kids. So moving on, I watched porn for nearly every day or so for about, next 9 or 10 years. So it's how my brain developed its arousal sensitization, to the point when I first had sex at the age of 19, I didn't orgasm. I chalked it up to being a fluke, but it turns out it was not a fluke. It's what happened to me every single sexual experience I had for the next 25 years. No pun intended. Up until the age of about 45, I can count on one hand how many times I orgasmed from sex. That didn't stop me. In fact, something else happened. Orgasm from masturbation became not so exciting. So in my life, I turned into a sex addict. I spent 2 decades perfecting my body and skills to hook up from sex on the internet. It just made it so easy. So this was me in my heyday. I mastered the technique of meeting women online to the point I could have a hookup in a matter of minutes, any time or day of the week, and many times multiple women in a day or multiple women at once. In fact, I have done and forgot about some of the craziest sexual experiences that most men can even fantasize about. I share this not as a brag, but I simply share it because it is what it is, and I know what it did to my life. But the secret is, I was still not able to orgasm from sex after all those years of just banging for hours. I could just go and go and go and go, but I still have to finish and roll over and just jerk off to finish. So with all these wild and crazy experiences, this was my life's reward. This is what I turned into. I became numb. I became unmotivated in nearly every aspect of my life, except for trying to get laid. That became excessive, and as did the porn, which continued. But part of my numbness was underlying depression. That led to just years of job skipping. I was able to excel in my jobs, but I was never happy. I never really enjoyed everything that I did. And I became extremely lonely. Yet I would always tell people that I had a great life because I could hook up whenever I wanted. But anytime I thought I wanted a relationship, I would end up losing all sexual arousal, which led to complete loss of confidence, which then obviously resulted in porn-induced erectile dysfunction. I could not get an erection unless I had excessive stimulus. Needless to say, I lost every relationship I attempted. It was at this point a very close friend of mine who couldn't believe the lack of success I was having in my life. And he asked me, "Do you watch porn?" I think I was about 43 years old. And believe it or not, I never thought about it. But I said, "Yeah, I watch porn just as much as the next guy." But I argued the fact that it was healthy. I said, "Yeah, it's healthy. I use it before I go out. I use it to relax." I argued it and I didn't even consider it. But I continued this vicious cycle in my life. And about a year later, I finally hit rock bottom. And after another failed attempt at a relationship, guess what I did? I considered it. The day I considered that porn was a problem was the day that I stopped. March 21st, 2017. And that was the last day I ever watched porn or masturbated. I know that sounds impossible. However, I realized that porn would never allow me the future I wanted. So I stopped. I went back and reviewed every self-help course I ever took and every motivational book I ever read. And I had to push myself so hard not to relapse. It didn't take long before I started gaining energy, really excelling at my work, and actually found myself engaging in fun activities, being outdoors again. I used to love hiking. I went hiking again, kayaking, river rafting, spending time outdoors with friends. I put off so many things for so long, and I couldn't believe it. I was actually enjoying life. And bam! One day I was involved in a small car accident and blew out my shoulder. I had 2 shoulder surgeries in the matter of just a couple months. And as I healed, I found for the first time in my life that I would actually become addicted to a substance, opioids. I had never been addicted to any drug or substance before in my life. I worked with my doctor and began to review my techniques that I applied to porn, and I was able to overcome the opioid addiction. It took about 6 months or so. It was then that this disciplines began to evolve, and I was able to really rid myself of this addiction, thank God. But guess what? I still wasn't cured. About a year after the opioids, I was working a lot of hours. I was immersed in work. I overextended my time and completely fatigued my body. And lo and behold, something else snuck in. I was introduced to cocaine. Wow, the wonder drug. It helped me tremendously for a short period of time. Then it stopped working, so I did more. I found myself in the same cycle as porn. And then I realized I am never going to shake this shit. Something is always going to jump in and take over. I started to spiral downward. I got really depressed. I was blowing money. I was acting erratic. And I finally hit rock bottom again. And I thought, if I don't do something, I knew that this wouldn't end well. So I just pulled myself up from the bootstraps. I recommitted, and I knew I had to go way deeper than I did before and figure out how to stop these addictions from ever entering my being ever again. So I committed to transformation. I became hypersensitive to every little aspect of my life, from what I ate to what information I was taking in, how I spent every second of my day. It was then an epiphany that hit me. I had been attempting to find just the one thing that would stop everything here and there. I would try all the tricks of the trade. But it was at that moment I realized I was looking at it wrong. I went back to each of what is now the disciplines that we'll go over here in a minute and started testing how each of them work and interacted with one another. That was the missing piece, and that's what I had to figure out. So it took 8 months of evaluating and the decades of work I had done in the previous or the different areas, testing what worked and what didn't. Mostly everything didn't work. But in the end, I finally found the combinations of all the disciplines that moved me beyond my addictions. The disciplines unlocked my future by releasing me from my past. In 1996, I had lost my dad from cancer. In 2005, I lost my mom from a heart attack. And then in 2007, I lost my godson to leukemia. The 7 disciplines catapulted me to my future by teaching me the lessons I so long searched for from the losses, as well as teaching me how porn had affected and warped my brain for nearly 35 years. So, as you can see, addictions are not mutually exclusive, and they are deep-rooted by many factors that you need to untangle. I will be clear. I do not claim that I have cured every addiction, but mine all started with me curing porn, and from there, I transformed my life. As you see here, I'm not special. If I can do it, you can do it too. And in the 3 short years since I quit porn and masturbation, here are the transformations that occurred in my life. In 2017, I became a documentary film producer, and I won my first Emmy. In 2018, I won another Emmy. In 2019, I won a 3rd Emmy. And in that same year, I found my soulmate. And in 2020, I became a certified porn and sex addiction recovery coach. And also this year in 2020, I became financially independent. And also this year, I got engaged to the love of my life. All of that happened in the short 3 years, almost 3.5 years since I stopped porn. So as you can see, I have been through it all. I hit rock bottom, climbed out of it, and achieved more than I could possibly ever imagine. So what did I do? I went back and I traced all the steps, and I created the roadmap to navigate all the landmines so I could help men just like you to get to the other side of transformation. That indeed is the purpose that revealed to me along my journey. Okay, so we've covered a lot here. We still have a lot more to go on, and I'm about to go into the 7 disciplines. But first, I want to do another check-in. If you are still sitting here, just be fucking proud of yourself. Seriously, you've been able to be extremely honest with yourself, and you know that something must change. I am inspired. So let's keep going. Let's now dive into the disciplines. What are they? This is what you're here for. I'm going to start with the final discipline and that I had to master, which helped me unlock the secret really to all the addictions in my life. Let's move on to it. What is it? Number 1 is understanding the brain science. And what about that? It's more than a mindset. A lot of people just think they can think their way through it or bowl their way through it. It's not. Understanding the addictions take more than just mindset to change. My addictions arose because I simply let my brain build over many years and evolve without any deliberate plan to control my own empowerment. Instead, the brain just reacted in ways to all the external stimulus, experiences, and information that happened in and around my life. I lived my entire life in reaction, and most of us live that way. Once I mastered an understanding of the brain science and learned how it could develop and steer and rewire it utilizing the other disciplines, this became the golden ticket. I took a deep understanding of many of the neurotransmitters that we have in our brain, but primarily dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and norepinephrine. And understanding that the role that these neurotransmitters had in creating addictions through neuroplasticity. So what is neuroplasticity? It's the ability of the brain to form new connections and pathways and change how its circuits are wired. I will say real quick, the big misconception that you see a lot on the internet is that dopamine is the neurotransmitter that is released at orgasm or at a moment of high reward, such as a big gambling win or something. It's not. It's the neurotransmitter that starts being released before a high reward moment and builds anticipation. The more dopamine being released, the more excited and motivated you become. I go into this way more in detail into the science of my online program. However, in simple terms, through our entire life, our brain is wiring memories and experiences to our reactions and feelings. And marketing companies are amazing at being able to trigger these in us. And that's why they're so effective. The key is understanding that this does not have to be reactive. Using the other disciplines that we're going to talk about, we can become deliberate and proactive in rewiring our neural pathways that create negative behaviors to pathways that create powerful and empowering behaviors. We, in essence, trick the brain into loving to do the hard things. In the other disciplines, we learn how to create and manipulate the specific neurotransmitters to create the change in neuroplasticity. Hopefully, everybody's hanging on to this right now and understanding what I'm talking about. It might be a little bit confusing, but it'll make more sense as we keep going. So let's move on to discipline number 2. Starting right off the bat, we're going to talk about purpose. You may or may not think you know what your purpose is. However, I can tell you exactly what it is and what it will be. But I like to use this little phrase first. What makes you forget to eat and poop? It's something that's going to motivate you to keep going to where you're so into it that you just keep going and it pulls you forward. Your purpose lies in serving other people or an idea that enriches the lives of others, that is far greater than the existence of your own life. That's what your purpose is, and it's deep inside you somewhere. This could be as simply as your family, or in my case, helping men reach their full potential by quitting porn, and then helping them retrain their brain for energy and clarity and focus and unlock unlimited abundance and happiness in their life. I had a lot of little purposes along the way that got me to that, but the end all be all, that's what arose. If you think that you already have found your purpose, but you still cannot rid yourself of the addictions or you're still struggling to succeed, then I'm going to challenge you and say that you don't have a purpose. Instead, you may have a very good passion. Passion is not always your purpose. If you've checked out my YouTube channel, I do have a video on this subject. A purpose will pull you forward downhill rather than pushing blindly uphill. Having a purpose will make you immune to giving up or chasing shiny objects. The good news is, as you follow the steps in the disciplines, you do not have to worry or chase your purpose. You do the work and follow the steps, you will be clear, and all the noise and the chaos in your life will dissipate and your purpose will come bursting out of you like a volcano. So how do we start this process? It's going to start off more on the scientific end and maybe go a little bit direction from there. But first we must master discipline number 3. I'm going to say your body. We have been taught to take care of our bodies for many different benefits, such as overall good health and feeling good. And there's so many cliches to fitness, such as your body is your temple. I know we've got some fitness guys on here. No pain, no gain. Pain is just a weakness leaving your body. The gym is my therapy, and so on. A lot of these make sense and can be true. But however, in the 7 disciplines, we look at mastering your body through physical fitness from a different perspective. Your body is your vehicle for your purpose. In order to find and eventually live your purpose, you must master your body by understanding and being deliberate on how you move and use your body. Diving deeper, we learn how exercise builds and creates the different neurotransmitters in your brain for rewiring the neural pathways. Once we do this, we can be extremely deliberate by what exercises we do, what we do with them, into building new empowering neural pathways and start breaking down the old negative pathways that previously created the triggers for us and extreme impulses. So taking control of your body allows us to deliberately retrain our brain. But that's not all it takes. So now we must move on to discipline number 4, nutrition. Now, for decades, the old cliches of nutrition have been ingrained in our brains as well, such as you are what you eat, food is the fuel for your brain, diets fail, lifestyles succeed. Now, I don't want to discount these altogether, as there are truths within each of them, and I've experienced each of them. However, in the 7 disciplines, we look at nutrition from a completely new perspective. Here, we look at nutrition as the gift to your body and mind. Look at the body and the mind as your trusty horse from the Wild West. That's why I don't have a picture of just a bunch of healthy food on here. But look at your body and mind as a trusty horse. He carries you and he carries the heavy load. You would go nowhere without him. Oftentimes in the Wild West, he's all that you have. And if he were gone, you'd be lost. You do everything you can to make sure your horse is happy, loyal, and healthy. That's what we want to do to our body through nutrition. Also think of your body as the mind of either employees or kids or pets. You want to reward them when they are exhibiting the best behaviors. However, what happens when you punish our horse or punish your horse or your kids or pets when they do something really good? They become confused, they distrust you, they act erratic and unpredictable. Our mind and body do the exact same thing. So if we're doing what we wanted to do, but then we reward it with negative foods that aren't good for us, it just doesn't work. So just like fitness, we become extremely deliberate in our nutrition to build and balance the dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and oxytocin, and the other neurotransmitters in our brain. We can again be proactive in breaking down the negative neural pathways and build new ones that serve us powerfully. Focusing on the nutrition leads us to the next discipline, which in some sense is also considered more nutrition for the mind. And we're going to work on mastering your mental well-being. Just like food, the stimulus and information that enters into our brain has one of the greatest impacts on creating neuroplasticity, positive or negative. This is the discipline that is most neglected, yet has the biggest influence on the way our brain maps neural pathways. The phrase, whether you think you can or you think you can't, is an age-old cliche, but it is one of the truest. Your brain is a fascinating organ because no matter what you put in your mind or what questions you put in front of your mind, it will always find the data to confirm and help you figure out what you're bringing in. If you ask yourself, why am I such a failure? Your brain will find all the information and tell you why you're a failure. If you ask yourself, you know what, it didn't work this time, but how can I make it work better to succeed the next time? Your brain will get busy and answer it that way. So really understanding how you think of yourself and how you're treating and bringing the information to the brain makes a huge difference. Think about today's world. The negative stimulus is bombarding us, and we begin to internalize everything bad that is going on around us, and it feels 100% real, as if it's happening to you. Everything that's going on that you see in the news, you make it, you internalize it, it feels real to you. But try turning off the news and social media for just a week, and you start to realize that the things that you personally experience are actually good. You're safe, people love you, and you're personally in no immediate danger. So just like nutrition and physical fitness, we become extremely focused on the information that we take into our brain that leaves us feeling empowered. One of the most powerful skills to understand is that stimulus such as light, sound, information, and images can also manipulate the neurotransmitters in our brain. The problem is that In our lives, we're bombarded with so much stimulus that our brain is always living in the future and not the present. Our brains are overworked by floods of dopamine that keep us fatigued and full of anxiety. When you can learn to control the dopamine levels in your brain, you can ever move closer to living in the present. I do have an exercise on my YouTube channel that you can walk through. It's a 24-hour dopamine detox, and I know some of you have already watched that. I recommend you watch this and do a dopamine detox for 24 hours. So think of the power you can give yourself when you understand exactly what stimulus you can use to change your mood and create positive neural pathways. The other exercise is to become very specific in your purpose and presenting information that only supports your purpose and shut out all other stimulus. My fiance and I have 3 purposes that we've defined. Mine is working with men to help transform their lives. My fiance is protecting and promoting the health of others and the planet. She does this with her all-natural vegan handcrafted soap company. Together, our purpose is building a life that promotes the success and abundance of each other, as well as the complete well-being of our pups. That's all that we focus on. Those are the 3 things. Anything else that tries to seep in, conversations, negativity, we shut it out and we don't go down those rabbit holes. We only allow information and stimulus into our world that promotes and builds, supports, and maintains that life. We shut everything out that is just noise and interference and does not support our purposes. If there's nothing else you get out of this webinar or masterclass, however you want to call it, I want you to focus on this discipline. Now, placing focus on your mental well-being puts you in position to master the next discipline that you need to go through, and that is self-discovery. Self-discovery is the act of becoming completely vulnerable and authentic and examining yourself inside and out from a non-objective and unbiased point of view. This is where I spent the better part of 30 years of my life. There are billions of dollars spent every year in industries built around the self-help and personal development. But it's up to you. You have to put in the work. I have a great deal of experience in this area and working with others. We need to go all the way back and really uncover how we developed a sense of who you are and who we are with our lives and how life shows up for us. Lots of people are lucky and have the right building blocks from the start, but for the rest of us, we have to go way back as far as being infants and toddlers. This is the age where we start to develop our ego and the sense of self. It's at this age where we start creating belief systems that lives with each of us every day for the rest of our life. For the majority of my life, I had developed the limiting self-belief that I'm not good enough and I don't matter. Other limiting beliefs that may resonate are the world is tough, people are bad, I can't trust men, I can't trust women, no one cares about me, I can only get through this alone, and the list goes on and on. Something probably resonates with you and something shows up in your life every way or every day in that matter. When that belief is internalized for the rest of your life, your brain will acknowledge every piece of evidence to substantiate the self-belief. In my case, and say for today's time, if I could have 99 experiences that disprove my limiting self-belief, for example, the old me, I could help 99 men achieve the goal of having a porn-free life, yet I would never internalize or recognize that as a success. And if only one person were to fail that I tried to help, my brain would internalize that and reaffirm to my self-belief that I'm not good enough. Does that make sense? If I could help so much, but I'm not going to recognize that. I'm only going to recognize and internalize what didn't work, and then it's going to just keep feeding my self-belief that I'm not good enough. The most amazing realization that we have as human beings is that we are simply meaning-making machines. And the power comes from knowing that we have 100% control to associate and anchor any meaning that we want to any experience. So we can indeed consciously associate meaning that empowers us to anything that happens to us. This is no light task. This is not easy. And I can spend a great deal of time in my online program dedicated to this and helping you safely navigate into the depths of the self-discovery. I spend just as much time on the next discipline. So we're going to work through self-discovery, but then the next one, it's all internal. What's the next one that we have to work on? Spirituality. Most people may consider self-discovery and spirituality as the same, but in the 7 disciplines, we treat them separately and differently. In self-discovery, we focus all of our time and understanding our ego, how it was created, why we believe in what we believe, why we are what we are and who we are, and how we do and what we do, and then how do we break down and rebuild the ego to be empowered. Mastering spirituality goes beyond breaking down the ego. In fact, when we master spirituality, we actually shut the ego down altogether and we just put it to sleep. We step outside of our ego, pick it up as if it were a snow globe, put it way up on the shelf, and we just let it sit there. At this point, we begin to evaluate the existence of our being within the universe. This space usually exists when we bring our mind to being completely present. It's at this very point we become connected to all living things in the universe. I've felt it. I've experienced this. This isn't just foo-foo mumbo jumbo. This is real, and we will get you there. Many people describe this connection as a higher being, and many people will refer to it as touching God. This moment in time is also referred to as an awakening and a connection to a higher, as I call it, a wider consciousness. Within the confines of my program, though, I usually discuss and talk about spirituality in the non-denominational terms. However, it can be discussed in just about every form of religion. And in my program, we do not judge anyone by the means of which they reach their own spirituality. I will provide many avenues for you to explore and reach this. Many choose meditation, religion, and I've even worked on one-on-one cases with some people who achieve this through the use of psychedelics and psilocybin mushrooms. But they certainly are not necessary and definitely not for everybody. I know this may be controversial to some people, but as I stated in the very beginning, have an open mind and do not judge. Inside my program, I place a lot of time in this area of finding spirituality because it's one of the hardest things for people to gain and get to. And most often when you reach a connection with spirituality or an awakening, it is usually in these moments that your calling or purpose erupts out of you. That's what happened in my instance. I can also assure you that when you connect to your wider consciousness, there is absolutely no need for any addiction. An addiction cannot live in the space of being present in a wider consciousness. Okay, so that was pretty heavy. And you may have a lot of questions going through your head, but those are the 7 disciplines. However, we're not done yet. I have a bonus element that must also be embraced. We're going to move on to brotherhood. I've chatted with a lot of you guys already, and I think some of you get this idea. But brotherhood is indeed a necessary element. It is an important way that we can truly understand where we've been and where we're going. It's also a way to understand that you are not alone. Finding a tribe of friends and a community of brothers that understand exactly the path that you have been on and the purpose you are presenting to this in the world is key to accountability. Your brotherhood is the group that is also behind you, lifting you up at the same time your purpose is pulling you forward. Inside my program, we're exploring how you can build a brotherhood that will ensure your success. So let's recap. Again, we're not done yet though, but I do want to recap. Here they are: brain science, purpose, body, nutrition, mental well-being, self-discovery, spirituality, brotherhood. I promise you that when you master these disciplines, not only will you quit porn forever, you will transform your life forever. The big secret is that you can indeed master all these disciplines on your own. But as you see from my story, it took me 35 years to master the process of transformation. Many of you may already be attempting bits and pieces of these already in your life, but still struggling to make it all work. So today, I am going to offer each one of you that are sitting on here, I'm going to give you my email address again to reach out. I would love to chat with each of one of you for an hour. It's a free hour of coaching session. And it'll be on Zoom. And at that time, I get to know your personal journey in more detail and get to give you additional tips that might help you along your transformation. We'll also discuss my in-depth transformative online program, The 7 Disciplines to Transform Your Life and Stop Porn Forever, which I referenced many times throughout this class. What is it? It is a step-by-step intensive program that walks you through and provides the roadmap to master each of the 7 disciplines, as well as show you the secret of connecting them to one another. All of this is guaranteed to give you the insights, the tools, the exercises and skills and accountability, as well as weekly coaching sessions with me to ensure your transformation in just a matter of a few months rather than decades. I'll describe in detail what you'll receive, but first, copy my email address down right here, bill@billwilderment.org. It's 2 L's, not bewilderment, it's Bill Wilderment. So copy this email address down, or if you got your computer up, you might be able to just go ahead and pull it up and maybe type it in and get ready to shoot me an email with some of your questions. But here's just a small list of what you're going to find inside my program. You will master the understanding of the brain science that we talked about earlier. You will gain the tools and expertise on how to deliberately change your brain chemicals to rewire your brain by using all the disciplines in correlation with one another. 2, you will learn how to shut down the urge and dismantle your triggers. Basically, learn what sets off your dopamine spikes and counter them before they start. Next, we are going to deliberately build new and empowering neural pathways. Here you will teach your brain, as I said earlier, to love to do the hard things. Next, we're going to build your own daily rituals that will spur energy and keep you accountability and on track. Next, we're going to go through a rigorous guided process of self-discovery. We talked about that a little bit ago, to help you heal wounds from the past so you can get on with your future. Next, another thing you're going to get is we're going to gain techniques on how you can recover quickly from flatline. I will talk about what flatline is on our call. I don't want to get into that right now. But here's another thing that you're going to get. You're going to learn how to embrace your vulnerability and use it as a tool to empower yourself and build natural attractions. And then we're going to have specific techniques to uncover your own spirituality and your place in the universe. That's one of my favorite pieces through the program. And now we're going to learn how to rediscover your sexual passion, because through this process, we'll talk about in our one-on-one phone call, you may lose sexual desire and sexual arousal. That's a big piece of porn recovery. After that, we're going to find your purpose, and then you're going to stop porn forever. Okay, so write down my email. Now I'm going to turn off the presentation so I can talk to you full screen here instead of just the small screen. Hopefully everybody can see me here. Again, I give you my email address. I urge each and every one of you to register for a 1-hour phone call with me. At this point, you really have nothing to lose. I know what you're going through and everything to gain. The difference between the successful 1% in the world and those who are always stuck is the 1% takes action. I want to thank you for sitting in. It is my mission to serve you. You have proven yourself to be one of the elite by making it this far. Now take the next action of being up into the top 1%. It starts right now, this moment, this second. It's your choice. Are you going to choose to hold on to your excuses, or are you going to let them go and choose to just have results, happiness, and peace? Will you do what it takes to be happy despite what is going on around you? I am here to help you in any way. If you choose to work with me, I'm happy to help you. The world needs a happy, wonderful, inspiring you. It does not need another victim. I'd be honored to speak with you. I love all of you so much and look forward to hearing from you. Have an amazing night. Thank you guys so much.